Hey, how you doing? I'm Azriel Lawless, and you've found Vella, the channel where we talk about everything to do with the new, exciting serial reading platform from Amazon called Kindle Vella. It's a place where you can read epic stories, one episode at a time. Who has time to read a whole book anymore, right? Anyway, give it a try. It's available to any anybody who holds an Amazon membership, and all you got to do is type in Kindle Vella in any browser and click the link, and you'll be in where you can read the first 3 episodes of all the stories in there for free. Any and everything that catches your eye. And come back here often to Vella, where I will read you either excerpts or an entire episode, one of the first 3 free episodes from various authors who have given permission for me to do this. And today's author is Miranda Schell, and the story is Edmund and Ella, Loss and Love in the 1800s Pacific Northwest. This is a really good historical romance. I'm enjoying it very much, and I think you will as well. Here's the synopsis. Stoic Edmund, a Swedish immigrant, has fended for himself since he was 10. Impulsive Ella traces her family to the 1600s Virginia and grew up in modest comfort. When they meet in 1887 in Washington Territory, they couldn't be more different, but loneliness draws them to each other. Is that enough to keep them together? Follow this determined couple from Wenatchee Valley farmland to city life in Seattle and on to the San Juan Islands as they weather hardship and heartache and find joy in family. Now, this is a well-researched historical romance that also happens to be a true story. So anyway, I'll get on with it. We will read episode 1, and it's called Leaving Sweden. Episode 1, Leaving Sweden. April 1865. 6-year-old Edmund stared at his father, who had knelt to his side, his level in the parlor of their house in Uppsala, Sweden. His lips trembled and he fought back tears. "But why do we have to go, Papa? I don't want to leave my friends and teachers at school." When he had started kindergarten in the fall of 1864, Edmund had been shy and hesitant. His mother, Amelia Sophia, had passed away in April, and he missed her terribly. As the year wore on, though, he had made friends and adored his teacher, and now he would lose them. It wasn't fair. Edmund's oldest sister, Amalia Louisa, shushed him. "Don't ask questions. Come and we'll pack your things." Their father, Ulrich Wahlberg, ruffled Louisa's hair and allowed a small smile to crease his otherwise worried face. "Don't be too hard on him. He's too young to understand the danger we're in." Ulrich was a Baptist preacher. At the time, all religious meetings other than those of the Lutheran Church of Sweden were outlawed, with punishment ranging from fines to jail time. To stay ahead of the authorities, the Wahlbergs moved from town to town where Ulrich would preach to the few Baptists who flouted the law, as well as to Lutherans who were looking for a new way to practice religion. While they traveled the countryside, Edmund took in the sights of many Swedish towns that would stay with him his entire life. Winding roads bordered by fast-running brooks, plowing oxen, and even a company of the King's Dragoons riding in a column of 3s on well-groomed steeds. But Edmund knew something was wrong. He had overheard Papa telling Louise about escaping from mobs of Lutherans who would break up the audiences that had gathered to hear him speak. More than once, he was headed out a back door as the law was coming in the front. After Ulrich baptized converts in the Freris River that flowed through Uppsala, Papa seemed more distracted. He glanced over his shoulder whenever they were out, and his temper flared if the children wandered too far from their house. Even if he didn't fully understand the situation, Edmund knew one thing for sure. If they stayed in Sweden, Papa might go to jail. Who would take care of him? 12-year-old Louisa, 8-year-old Hannah, and 3-year-old Seth, then? He threw his arms around Papa and hugged him. A few days later, all the possessions the Wahlbergs could take with them were loaded onto a wagon. They left the house they were renting and hurried to the train station in Uppsala and boarded a car bound for Stockholm, where they stayed overnight in a hotel. The next day would be the most exciting day of Edmund's life. Papa had told him they were going to travel on a big boat across the North Sea to Hull, England. When they arrived, Edmund squealed with delight watching the small mules pulling huge loads on two-wheeled carts. From Hull, they and their fellow immigrants rode the train from England's seacoast to Liverpool on the west coast, England's east coast to Liverpool on the west coast. They brought fruit from the vendor on the railroad platform where Edmund saw his first orange. Their final water voyage was a 3-week journey from Liverpool to New York. Instead of being frightened by the waves and rolling of the ship, Edmund was thrilled by the sights, sounds, and smells. One morning, Papa woke him early and took him up top. The boy stood on his tippy toes and squealed with delight as the school of black fish darted around the ship. Edmund was a naturally curious child. With 3 other children to care for, Papa gave him freer rein on the ship than he'd had at home. He soon made friends with the good-natured cooks who happily fed him the pea soup he loved so much. Near the end of the voyage, they decided to have fun and gave him a bitter broth instead. Their laughter roared in his ears as he ran to spit it out. That humiliating memory soon subsided as land came into view. Papa pointed over the rail of the ship. "There's New York," he said to his children. "We'll soon be in America." It was June 1865 when they disembarked and joined the throngs of newcomers awaiting inspection by immigration officials at Castle Garden. "Everybody clasp hands," Papa reminded his children. "Stay together." Edmund remembered their stopover in Stockholm when Louisa and Hannah had gone into one of the many shops to look around while he stood outside and watched the activity of the busy street. When he looked in the store window and didn't see his sisters, he ran down the street searching for them. A policeman found him crying on the sidewalk and took him to the police station where his father and siblings soon found him. Hannah showered him with hugs and kisses. "We're so sorry," Louise said. "We wanted to see as many stores as possible before leaving Sweden so we could remember all of the beautiful things we'll miss, and we forgot you before leaving through another door." That memory still fresh in his mind, Edmund squeezed Louise's hand tighter as they were jostled by fellow passengers, all moving forward as one organism toward their new life. His other hand clutched the bundle he was carrying. Everyone, no matter their age or gender, carried a parcel or bag, and some people were so loaded down they looked like they might topple over. It wasn't unusual for pans and tin cups to dangle from the packs as people tried to bring as many household goods with them as possible. Edmund heard one man remark, "I'm jangling so much I feel like a cowbell leading the way." Heavier bags and steamer trunks were unloaded at the docks and piled high onto the wide wagons to be carted to where the passengers could retrieve them. After tickets and baggage were sorted, Edmund and his family waited on the railroad platform for the train that would carry them to their new home. The Wahlberg family, following a route well worn by Swedish immigrants since they first started coming to America in large groups in the 1840s, headed toward Illinois and Wisconsin. After a train change in Chicago, their first home in America was in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, a town surrounded by rolling farmland. The machines used to harvest grain, like the McCormick reapers, were more mechanical than the farmers used back in Sweden. Watching how swiftly the farmers were able to cut the stalks grabbed young Edmund's attention. This would not be the Wahlberg family's permanent home, however. The Swedish Baptist Church was in its infancy in America, and establishing more churches was key for it to take root and grow. As a minister, this was one of Ulrich's responsibilities. In July 1865, a few months after arriving, the Wahlbergs headed southwest to Iowa. Along the way, they stopped at Rock Island, Illinois, where the first Swedish Baptist church in America was founded in 1852 by immigrant school teacher turned Baptist minister Gustav Palmquist. Their final destination for a home was Boone County, Iowa, where another Swedish family welcomed the Wahlbergs to live in their log cabin while Papa looked for a suitable place for them. Not long after settling in, Edmund's sister, Hannah, became seriously ill. No doctors were available, and the family wasn't able to reduce her burning fever. Within a few days, Hannah Wahlberg, who had recently celebrated her 9th birthday, passed away. As Edmund had watched his sister grow more ill, his excitement about being in a new country began to fade. So can you imagine? I can't tell you how popular that this period of time is right now in the general, interest of, and Westerns are just it right now. And I encourage you to read this. I'm certainly going to continue my reading of the story. And again, this has been Edmund and Ella, Loss and Love in the 1800s Pacific Northwest. And it is by author, I'm so sorry, I forgot. It is by author Miranda Schell. Go check it out. There's a link in the information section with this video. And again, come back often. We'll have a lot more videos for you. Thanks. Bye.